Test. Test.
How about that? This is Custer County Commissioner Bill Kanda, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. This is Wednesday, August the 18th, 2021, and it's 9 o'clock. So I'd like to remind everybody, first of all, silence the phones, and I'll do the same. And Tina has sworn that she's going to remind me to turn it back on the same day, so I missed it last time. Thanks, Tina. And this is being recorded both by the county clerk and it's on Zoom, and it's also recorded on YouTube, I believe.
Well,
Or not Zoom, I'm sorry.
it is Zoom, but it's no video.
There's no video on the Zoom, but it's
Audio.
audio only. So it's been recorded so people can refer to it. First thing is also to remind you to turn them back on, as I mentioned a minute ago. All right, the meeting's been called to order. Let's stand for the pledge, and let's see if our communications director can handle that, PIO. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reggie. Okay, roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Present.
Commissioner Day.
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith.
It is a pleasure to be here in the kingdom of Wetmore.
You gotta love it. He has a tie on too for you, Kelly.
And clerk to the board, Kelly Camper, present.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Next is to see who's here. Let's start back in the back of the room and say your name loud enough so Kelly can record it if she doesn't know who you are.
Clint Smith, County Attorney.
It's gonna be Paul, PIO.
Shannon Barley, County Sheriff.
Bruce Broker, Wetmore Fire. Terry Richter. Molly Abbott. Amanda Hilliard.
Gary?
Gary Hyde, Road and Bridge Supervisor.
Emma Day Wetmore. Tina Jones, BOCC Administrative Assistant.
And we've got over here the Sergeant of Arms on the machine, and Jordan Benson. Okay, that's everybody, and like I said, if somebody is online later, and needs to speak up, we'll introduce that person at that time. All right, next up, anything to change or amend, Tom, to your side?
Yes, sir, I would move to amend the agenda, item number 4, strike the word discussion and add consideration of selecting.
Yeah, and I guess that was the intent of that in the first place, consideration is fine. I think that's fine, did you move to do that?
I did so.
I'll second that. It just clarifies what we're actually doing, I appreciate that. All in favor, Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Canada, aye.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thanks for catching that. And, let's see, we've got, anything from you, Kevin?
Nothing here, sir.
None, me either. No minutes to approve, I believe. Is that true, Kelly?
That is true.
Okay, Commissioner items. Kevin, what you got?
Oh, just a few things, I guess, since our 4th meeting, that afternoon, we just sat at the Board of Equalization, and then we had our workshop, our budget workshop on the grants. I think that went really well, we're moving ahead with that. I did attend, 2 days worth of meetings from Attainable Housing, and, there's a group that have given, the Attainable Housing Board a grant of their time, to help them move along. It was not a monetary grant, but, it was a couple of good days, pretty productive. They are moving forward now with, helping the Attainable Housing as far as, getting their, I would say their documentation and things of that nature in order, and to be able to, move ahead to trying to, develop those lots in Silver Cliff.
Speak a little louder.
I'm sorry. And then, I also attended the Kids Council meeting, this month. They are set up now, they're gonna have their child care, starting, I believe, the 7th. They're gonna have their child care set up and in operation through the school. That's to help with the teachers that have children. Those will take priority. And then, after that, then some of the public, if they have open slots, will be able to attend as well. So right now, they have, 15 slots in the morning and 15 in the afternoon that are filled, and they have 2 on both of those time frames on a waiting list already. So, looks like they'll hit the ground running with pretty hard on that. And then I attended the 911 meeting yesterday, and, we've got, the phone system for the sheriff's office okayed, and they're gonna move ahead with that. That'll be all I have.
Did, Attainable Housing, are they having a problem? I had read somewhere that they were worrying about, applying for, grants, for the economic recovery, or whether that was gonna cover the cost of rent or whatever, I don't know, but.
I think they're still trying to figure out the logistics of all of that and how they would qualify or not qualify. So, they are looking at that, and,
They're pressing ahead.
they are pressing ahead, so.
Kiddo?
Thank you, sir. Just a few things on my calendar, August the 6th. I did, follow up with my contacts on the American Rescue Plan Committee. I also attended the grant budgeting workshop. I also prepared another notice of sale of Golden Valley Arrow subdivision lots. Lot 15 is not for sale. We thought that was another lot to be added on to this notice, but it's not. somebody already owns that lot, so we just had a mix-up there, but I got that cleared up before that went to the paper. And then, on the 12th, I did attend Upper Ark Water Conservancy District Board meeting in person. It was a relatively short meeting because they had a picnic scheduled at noon, so we started at 10 and got done at 12, so that was refreshing.
Makes you wonder why all the other meetings are long.
Yeah, I had planned to go to that 911 meeting yesterday, but I got home and things went to pieces.
It wasn't
to
happening.
say that, yeah.
We had a
Trying to
quorum.
shake a head cold, and it came back with a vengeance yesterday for some reason, so.
Yeah, you didn't sound,
So I did not attend that. I had talked to Sheriff Byerly about the possibility of, either Vernon or the Sheriff's Department or somebody requesting some of that American Rescue Plan dollars to go towards that, purchase of that phone system. I think it would be a legitimate request anyway.
we discussed that and in fact, determined that as well. Be worth, applying when we get the process figured out.
And then I have some other things I wanted to bring up. I did receive an email from the chairman of the Custer County Economic Development Corporation, stating his disappointment of no one in that organization being considered for the ARP committee. I sent an email back and I said, I'm sorry, we all submitted names and yours wasn't one of them, basically, so,
Yeah, we discussed.
and then, I had sent a question to our attorney about the legitimacy of the Justice Center Committee being able to spend money after a resolution is adopted, if that happens, or is that going to be allowable? And so I think he's researching on that, so we'll see. And then I also wanted to bring up the possibility, or for discussion at some point, doesn't have to be today, about the needs of, reflooring the bathrooms and the break room in the county building. We did get a bid on the break room, to put the same kind of waterproof planking in it as they're putting in the foyer of Human Services building, and that's about $2,000 to do that. I don't know what the bathrooms would be. I guess we could do all four of those bathrooms downstairs for probably $4,000, $5,000, something like that, so.
Meaning with the break room?
No,
Separate.
in addition to
It'll be
the break room.
6,000 total.
Yeah, and, I talked to Vernon about that. We sat down and looked at the capital improvement budget a little bit yesterday. I think there's room for that. And those bathrooms need some attention. We just can't keep ignoring them, so, something to think about. I'll, if you're not opposed, then I will reach out to, Jeff Holmberg and ask him to bid those bathrooms as well. Makes sense to me if we're gonna be doing the foyer, then we ought to look at doing the bathrooms in the break room at the same time. That carpet in that break room is bad shape, so that's all I have, sir.
Okay, that's interesting, a couple things that coincided. I did discuss, the Justice Center thing, with Marty Galvin, as a matter of fact, asked the same question, and he recommended talking to the attorney too, but he also, really what I looked for was, other precedents, and he says as long as the other counties have actually spent money after they, have made a resolution to go put it on the ballot, as long as it was a, education on both sides of the coin, as long as it's not, campaigning for or against an issue. So, and in fact, we actually have to do that when we spend money on it, to put it on the ballot, spending money. So, I'll leave it up to Clint too, we'll discuss that later at some point, because we're gonna have a discussion here on the resolution, and then let's see where we go from there.
Did you talk to Marty about underfunded grant?
Yeah, underfunded grant, we read that in detail here, and he's, it's actually pretty clear. You can't campaign, you can't spend any money on, you campaign, but I didn't get into, and he said he was gonna leave that, alone for right now, but it's possible, if that $7,000 that we still have in the grant is not used to campaign for or against it, it may be possible, but, we'll see. So we'll throw that in with it, Clint, when we discuss it. All right, I'll keep talking loud enough so everybody can hear. The other thing, E911, we also did have that discussion, and, I think it, I agree with you, Tom, it looks like a logical thing to put into the pot.
Did you go to that meeting?
Yeah, as long as, it's up against a lot of other things that may be a higher or a lower priority, and, Buck Wenzel understood that too, as we discussed that at the end of the meeting. So it could be possible, or it could be paid part of it, just depends on how it falls out with the committee. School started, in case you hadn't heard, it's, one day into it today, I guess, it's their first day. I've been discussing, things that we have in common with, the superintendent, Mike McFalls, and one thing that is good to tell everybody is, football season actually started like a real football season on a normal year. This is the preseason, and they're out practicing, and, they're excited about the, new football field lights that they, got, that the Custer County Booster Club has sponsored, and there's gonna be a celebration, to turn that on and have a commemorative, ceremony on Thursday before the Friday night to make sure they work. And they have a pep rally, and all the teams in the community, including all of Custer County, is invited to participate, so I wanted to bring it up in this meeting. So it's important, it's a neat thing to get things back to normal, more or less, and to also have Friday night lights that we haven't had since the new school was built, and they took down the old lights that used to be up where the new gym is today, for those that are not familiar with what it used to be. I am, also, interested, you brought up the repairs that we need. Working that contract, the omnibus contract for heating, HVAC, and the construction and the plumbing. And maybe that's something we need to discuss, is when we get that in place, it might be a cheaper bid. Maybe, we'll have to see how to handle that, try to get that. And it depends on the time frame when we, work the RFP and the, contract, which will probably occur sometime before Christmas, we hope. We'll see how that goes. We'll bring that in. I'll put it on the agenda for the 2nd or the 3rd of September. Okay, I keep falling down, and I appreciate the volume note. And let's see, that's it for now. I'm good, thanks. Sheriff? Yeah, I'm glad he's on the ball, though. All right, that's all I had, for right now. Any other points? Clint, you're up.
Okay, well, I'll make up for the volume deficiency here.
All right, go for it.
Usual thing, talk to Jackie Hobby on a few matters. They're violating various parts of our zoning resolution, mostly to do subject issues. I haven't had to write any letters, but there's probably another cease and desist letter coming down the road pretty soon from me. Mostly since the last time we met as Board of County Commissioners, I worked on the resolution, the proposed resolution 21-11 that's on the agenda for today, taking the one that was provided to us as a sample format and redoing it to make it fit here, and then submitting a number of drafts for input from a lot of people. I got a lot of good suggestions for changes at the last minute. Kelly made some great catches that I had overlooked, and so hopefully it's all in good shape now for discussion today. And I guess that's about, I did sit through the workshop last week that you had with Braden on grant. Didn't contribute anything, but I sat through it. And that's all I have to report, I guess.
All right, that reminded me of another thing. The three of us are gonna go. Are you headed to, Central City? you too today. We'll talk about it. We're gonna go to Central City for a CCI Mountain District meeting, which is, useful to have because those meetings have not been occurring either in person or on the Zoom. They've tried a Zoom thing, but it's just not working out. So that's another nice thing to get back to normal, and we'll be seeing a couple things. And I'm gonna be going to a meeting on Saturday, the 21st, I think it is the redistricting meeting that's gonna occur in Canyon City at the Pueblo, Junior College, campus, or public campus.
Who's putting that meeting on?
The GOP is, and it's, a redistricting and bring everybody up to understanding what the issue is. One big thing, just to remind everybody, redistricting is because of the census and the population shifted. We could, as a rural county, be thrown in, and there's an effort, on the docket to throw rural counties in with metropolitan counties, and it kinda hurts a little bit in that we lose a voice, if you're outgunned with the population. So it's an issue, that's why I wanted to attend it and see what they're considering for Custer County. We may be pooled in with, Pueblo and, or Grand Junction, who knows? I've gotta see where they are. So I'll report that back, next meeting. And that's, just thanks for the jogging my memory. All right, Tina, you're up.
I have nothing to discuss today.
And thanks a lot for everything that you're doing. How are you feeling? Everything's going well? Enough?
Enough.
Okay, thanks. Okay, public comment. Anybody have anything you wanna bring up right now that we might wanna consider to put on a future meeting?
I'd like to say something, just, we have some visitors right now, they had visited us previously a number of years ago, and they were here, and they commented on how great Oak Creek Grade was, and how
Yeah.
nice and smooth and everything. I just wanna congratulate or compliment Gary on the job Road and Bridge is doing on the county road. They really felt different from when they were here a number of years before Gary came on board.
Yeah, I was gonna echo that when it came up, when we were gonna hammer him for wanting a new grader, but I don't know why he needs it. But I've been talking, we have, and Gary's, the overlay you're doing to fix the shoulders on Macy, is really looking good. And the other roads that you're doing as well, so, I don't know where you're getting the asphalt. Yeah.
And I wanna compliment him because I live off of County Road 265 and 271, and you guys have done a great job.
Well, when's the next Wetmore meeting, 'cause
Yeah, I know. It's the air and the water down here.
I'm gonna plan to come back.
Sure.
To bring some levity to it, I wanna complain because now the roads are better, which means we have more crashes because everybody's driving.
They're driving too
even
fast.
faster than they were.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Just so you don't get too big of a head, Gary. That's all that was for, I didn't.
But maybe the more crashes, the less vehicles will be in Custer County.
Maybe less people will wanna come to it.
The glass is always half full.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
You can't win for losing.
Keep up the good work, Gary, I don't care what anybody says. All right. Any unfinished business? Kevin?
No, sir.
I don't either. All right, we can move on. So the first, item is, will be considered, I'll mention that in just a second, but a public comment will be allowed on these items as we get into discussion on them. And then, before we vote on it, so we wanna get your input before we do that, as well as we have been getting input. One of the reasons these are published and the timeline is there is to allow people to have an opportunity to call us or come to the meeting. So with that, the, resolution 1211, I'm gonna read what it says as opposed to what it says on the agenda. 2111, I should say. It says 12 on my agenda, but thank you. I looked at that, I said, I don't think that's right, but then I was gonna read the resolution instead. So I do wanna read the resolution because it's clear what it really is as opposed to this.
You're gonna read the whole thing.
No.
All 9 pages.
This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners for Custer County referring a ballot question to the registered voters of the county for the election scheduled for November the 2nd, 2021. To wit, that's a lawyer's word, he had to put it in there, whether a 2% countywide sales and use tax should be approved to fund the construction and operation of a justice center. So that's our, agenda item to consider for today. So I would move that we accept this, resolution in order to get discussion, moving on, if it's second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the resolution. So, discussion. Tom, you got some points to bring up first?
I know there's been some discussion back and forth about sales tax and use tax. And so I wonder if Kelly could educate us, if she would. Number one, what's the difference between them? And is the 2% sales tax increase and then a 2% use tax increase? The 2% would be increased on both of those. Those are a couple questions I had.
It is confusing.
So it would be increased on both of them because of the way it's written.
At 2%. Okay.
Basically, the difference is a sales tax is on items that you purchase online or in the county. The use tax is on, like motor vehicle, construction material, stuff that you, and this kind of goes against what I just said about purchasing, but it's stuff that you purchase outside the county and bring into the county for
It's
use in that county.
It is a sales tax by just another name. They call it a use tax when you buy a vehicle in Pueblo and bring it up here and register. That's when you pay your tax.
Your use tax.
Or construction equipment, that's the other big one.
Farm equipment too would be included, correct?
No,
No.
farm
No?
equipment is
Okay, that's why I
exempt.
want to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is all based on purchases, whether it's in the county or outside the county. If we're used in the county, then it can be taxed in the county, it should be taxed in the county.
I know there was a time when I had a business in Silver Cliff, and I thought J.D. called me, which made me think it was a county thing, and he said, hey, we need you to tell us what your inventory and equipment is in your business, because we have to tax that. That must be different than
That's
use
totally
tax. That's
different.
an inventory tax?
That's, part of your property tax.
Okay. And then, thank you for that. And then when I read through this final version for the 100th time, it seemed like, I talked to Tina a little about this. Let's see if I can find it real quick, but there was just some wording in there that I thought, if I didn't know anything about this and I read this, ballot, I would kind of wonder what in the heck is
Are
going on.
you on the proposed ballot, wording there, Tom? Where are you?
That's what I'm looking for.
Ballot
I thought
issue.
it was under one of the,
Item B, page 4, that we talked about.
yeah, if I find it, I'll maybe try to bring it up again. Other than that, that's all I had.
This is simple.
Most of this is way over my head for the legalese anyway, but.
Well, I would just refer, so as Mr. Flower, referred to, so do the, I don't know if 100 covers the number of times we've gone through this thing, just going back and forth, but as was alluded in the ballot wording, that you mentioned, Mr. Kanda, that starts in section B on this. So there, we did in fact, modify that wording several times. All of that being run through the bond attorneys, through, this is something Cook, anyways, the bond attorneys, we changed some wording and then they were like, hold on, by statute, you can't change that, it has to go back to the way it was. And so they've been through this with a fine-tooth comb umpteen times as well. And, they said from a statutorial perspective, it looks I certainly don't argue the point, though, that there's so much legalese in there that it's hard to follow.
And I never looked up all those CRSs either. I assume that's what we're hiring bond people to do. If I
Well,
think-
DOR is actually the one that caught it, the bond attorney didn't even catch it.
Yeah.
Right, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Glad you said.
With respect of the ballot issue, the language on the ballot, if that's all that's on the ballot, everything that is highlighted here in caps, it starts out, shall Custer County taxes be increased $1.25 million, for a limited 25-year period. My thought was, if I didn't know, I'm just an average Joe citizen, when you talk to me about taxes, I think about property taxes. And so I wondered, this is what I talked to Tina about, I wondered if that shouldn't say, shall Custer County sales and use taxes be increased? Because they're not gonna get all this other stuff, right? They're not gonna get the whole explanation of the whole whereases and therefores and all of the stuff in this resolution. It's just gonna be what's written in this ballot. Down later on, I don't discount, it says that all, but, I just worry about people reading that and go, nope.
Actually,
so
it says it
don't
in the
forget
first
that-
sentence, but that's one heck of a long first sentence.
That item right above where it says Custer County Justice Center sales and use tax will be the title of it. And
It
then
will?
the verbiage
Okay, all right,
follow
that
up
should help.
Because we talked about that, and the bond folks came back and said, or, the attorney says, this is how the wording needs to be. Because we did change it, and we had sales and use in there, and they're like, no, don't put, no.
Right.
Well, it says it, it says
Yeah,
such
I'm
tax
I'm just going off their word, though.
Right, as I said, I know it
Yeah.
says it later on, but later
Right.
on may never get read.
I don't
Somebody
disagree
walks
with
in
you.
a ballot booth and says, hell, I'm not raising taxes, bam.
Yeah.
So, but if that title is going to be sales and use tax, then any
That's the way I
reasonably
understand it.
educated person should get that.
I
Yeah,
agree.
it's spelled out, but not.
That title that's in bold type, there has to be right there, and then the language.
Yeah.
Well, since we're discussing that, why wouldn't you say up there, first of all, it says increase $1.25 million. Is that per year? Why is it say per year?
So that's a statutory requirement that, so the estimated at a 2% sales tax, that $1.25 million is what's estimated to be raised in the first year.
Okay,
Which is,
And that's a statutory
Okay, that's a
requirement,
requirement,
that has to be in there.
and then it will continue at that same rate for the,
For
till
June.
2047, it says, which is
Yeah.
25 years or whatever that is.
Correct.
So why couldn't you say, the sentence under there says, to be, right after, to be known as Custer County Justice Center, it says such tax increase to consist of a countywide sales tax and, 2 cents on each, 2%. That can't be said any earlier than where it is, apparently. That's the way that you're understanding it.
And, Clint, what do you think?
Just to make it clear that in the,
Lawyers with a much higher pay grade than I'm at are the ones that this house out.
it has to be, okay,
That's fine.
that's good.
I'm going with that.
Okay, the only other question I had, or unless you got
No,
that.
I'm,
Because originally, that's how we had it, and they said strike that.
Okay. So the other question I had, it goes on to tell you it's gonna last for, and they'd have to calculate it out. I don't know why we can't say how many years, but it's 2047.
well, it does say 25-year period.
Where is it at there?
The second.
Second line.
Oh, the second line there. Yeah, jumped right over it, yep. Oh, that's because there's a hyphen. Hyphenate, okay, I got it. But my real question was related to that. We had always discussed unless it's paid off earlier. And why can't we state that in here so they know that it may be paid, could be paid off earlier? You don't know what, it's not, you want to do the real, okay.
Can't vote on what may happen, right?
Right,
Because it may not.
Right.
may not, we will work on it, if there's no.
There is language later that this can be repealed in the future.
Okay,
But just taking the ballot off, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't even have to be voted on, the future Board of County Commissioners decides they want to
can always pull something out,
They can do it.
Oh,
even if it was half-built.
The bottom of page 7.
yeah, and I thought it had, it goes to the registered, need not be submitted to the registered elector. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah.
Well,
I
that's,
just mean that intent there is not that clear, but it, we had, collect each month's tax, pay it all off in less than 25 years, then,
Can you just repeal it?
the logical thing to do would be to repeal it early.
Boy, it would make me feel bad, it's just a comment, as a taxpayer to have it,
Well, a lot of this is
be
gonna have-
required to, if it's paid off earlier.
A lot of it's gonna be in the spelling prior to voting on this.
Yeah.
So get that out there, try to make that clear. Right now, you can't go beyond 25 years based on this, but you could end sooner.
Well, if it
based on
didn't, is the wording restrictive enough to make sure it's not spent on something else like the motor graders?
Yeah, it says specifically what
Yeah,
I'm
that's how I'm reading
It has to
it,
be a separate fund.
make sure, okay.
Yeah, this goes into separate funds, just for the
Okay.
construction, maintenance, operation.
Kevin, you got any comments?
No, I've sat through quite a few of these meetings where they've been trying to get everything ironed out, so I think all of my questions have been answered, sir.
Tom?
Thank you, sir. So then my final question would probably be, and this is to the committee or whoever, the attorney, for whatever his advice is worth.
Today.
You get what you pay for.
That's right. So, what happens if we vote to approve this resolution? What is next? It gets filed with the Department of, Revenue or DORA?
What's the timeframe, I guess?
Not Kelly's.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kelly, so.
I've already sent it to Department of Revenue
Okay.
to look at.
Okay.
So next, I would just need the question itself certified to me, in a Word document that I can then put into the ballot. I have to advertise it 3 times. And, I have to do a Tabor notice that would go to all the registered voters.
And that's in your budget already, huh?
Yes, yeah. And, there's some dollar figures that go in there that you guys have to provide to me. But other than that, that's about it
Do you
for
know,
now.
I've always had this question, who determines where this question would be on the ballot?
Me.
Let me give you some money. You do that, huh? I'll be darned. I wonder.
It's in statute, how, the order of how we have to put things.
I question I have, there aren't gonna be any other requests for money from any other taxing entities that we're aware of.
No, not that I'm aware of.
I have heard it.
Somebody was gonna
I did
put
too.
some, I don't remember now who it was.
Well, maybe you're thinking of the Florence fire thing, which went
Yeah.
away.
Which
That was
is-
the only
yeah,
other
we got
thing I
dropped
knew
off.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something.
No, I thought I'd heard somebody else was gonna make an initiative. But good, I'm glad to hear that.
Unless the state has something and I haven't
Right,
heard.
but countywide or local, neither one of the towns or,
Or special districts,
yeah. Round Mountain's not gonna get in there and want a chunk.
Yeah, that was the other issue, was whether, any of the other districts were gonna raise it. 'Cause
Well, there
we
was
are.
some concern about Round Mountain, right, but
Yeah,
that isn't gonna happen, so.
maybe that's what I was thinking. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, I wanna ask the committee, are you all happy with the wording now? Absolutely, positively? Is this clear if you were a Joe Blow walking into the voting booth? I'll look at Ann, 'cause she was spearheading it. You got an issue at all?
I have the same concern that Tom did about not wording it with 2% at the beginning, but with all the legal things going on and everything, I'm comfortable where it's at now. Is it having to be worded that way?
given that, what I wanna have clear, on the public record is, this is a county tax increase. When's the last time the county increased the tax? Right now, we're at, what, 4%, whatever it is?
We're at 2% county right now, and that,
That's what I
the last time that was increased was early 2000s or late 90s.
Mm-hmm. And
And it increased 1%.
right, and so, my point here is that it's important for people to understand it does impact other places in the county, the towns. What's the rates in the town now gonna be because of this? Gonna be?
The rates in the total in the town now will be, 8.9.
And the county rate is going to be 4, right? So that, it affects it seems like a real big jump if you're in the town of Westcliff, but the population of Westcliff's a lot smaller, of course. And then the tourism is gonna make up a lot of that, so it's important for people to understand how we're taking advantage, how this is worded, and what we've selected, what you all selected to do with the, sales/use tax part of this. Are you all, can this go back to the committee, are you gonna be able to leverage those and make that clear in your public, distribution of knowledge to the whole,
education.
yeah.
I want to say that this committee worked very diligently to ascertain the impact on property owners, individuals, every possible scenario looked at and researched. To not have it be an unfair balance to property owners, and the fact that our sales tax has increased, we went with a sales tax. And I'm very comfortable with that. Are you, Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, I think what this resolution's done is, I've been voting for, 30-some years now. And I always thought how convoluted this was, but this process really reaffirmed
Made it clear it was.
and that the legalese dominates, and it is not created for someone to just sit down and read it and completely understand it. I mean, it is, so to say that we're happy with the verbiage, I would say that we're satisfied because we have come to a point where it has to be like this.
Yeah.
And so we're tired of trying to bang our head on the wall, so I would say we're satisfied with it. I agree with Ann. I mean, we've spent 3 years now on this, and really the last, year to 14 months working with the professionals that do this on a daily basis, with Piper Sandler. They went through every scenario. They analyzed sales tax. They analyzed property taxes. We looked at even doing a dual where it would be a lower rate across the board, do a lower sales tax and property tax.
Right.
We couldn't do it 2 ballot initiatives, which sets you up for failure. And we came to this decision, and you guys sit in on several of those meetings and discussions. And so I think, for lack of a better term, this is the lesser of the evils. And that, I don't want to see taxes go up. The reality is, is that we're sitting in the nicest building that Custer County owns. The newest model. This is the nicest building, and it was built in
1935 or 6.
Okay,
29 when it was.
Okay, so, at some point, we have to start looking at, and I've been critical of this across the board of our county government, we don't look forward and start planning, we have to at some point, and so, yeah, I think that's where we're at, and we just see if the voters agree or not, and if not, then we figure something else out.
Okay, go ahead, and I got,
Well, I made a statement all along that our forefathers in 1929, and even the little gale in 1888, looked forward. And they knew that that wouldn't last forever. But they did a really good job for that time period. And I see it as our responsibility to future generations is to get something going that is with the times. We need to correct the public health and safety issues that we have. And I think we're foolish not to move forward.
And to be big enough for the future. So the last communications question I have then, given that and given the verbiage, the only other communique is gonna go out would be what you're doing publicly, disseminating the education out. And the blue book. The blue book is what the guy that's not paying attention to going to any forums or listening to any pamphlets or reading anything will read to try to understand it in English what's going on. Who writes that in the blue book? It's us, you, or Kelly? And Kelly's gonna have to have some help, I hope, to make sure that, so you're gonna stay engaged with it, right? We're not, right?
Yeah, and I can only put so many words in there. By statute, I can only put so many words.
How many is that? Is it per issue of some kind or what?
No, per issue.
But,
A pro statement and a con statement that has to come from somebody in the community. Most of the time it comes from the committee, because people don't realize they can make pro and con statements. The bad thing about it is if I got 100 pro statements, I have to take a little bit of each one of those and consolidate them together into one statement.
I see.
And vice versa, if you had 100 cons, you have to do something.
Right. Tom, you got the question?
well, I've got a question and I have a general comment. So, I made the assumption that everything in caps would literally be on the ballot. And so it starts out, shall Custer County taxes be increased? Which is really the question. And then it goes down to the very bottom and says, shall Resolution 2011 be approved? Well, are we voting on the tax increase, or are we voting on approving a resolution? I'm a little confused about that. We're gonna vote on whether or not to adopt the resolution today. So I thought, well, that doesn't even make any sense to me why we are asking the voters to approve a resolution unless it's and they won't see the resolution. So I was gonna say, unless it is to approve all the wording in the resolution, which they're not gonna be privy to that. So I wondered about that last paragraph, why we would be asking the voters to,
That's a good point. We're approving the resolution, aren't we?
I agree,
I missed that, but I caught it in that one in section 12A, because it said the same thing.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, on
Yeah.
there.
I would really like to see that language taken out, because if you vote today to approve it, that's done.
That is we're approving the resolution to put it on the
Right.
ballot. That's
The voters
all that
approved
is.
the question.
Yeah, they're approving the question.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't see that last
Language
piece.
more shall be.
if you take the rest of it out, it says, shall Resolution 2011 be approved? And unless there's a legal aspect to that,
I'd
I
like to
just
run
think
that
it's weird.
Find out what it,
back through the lawyers again, because that is confusing now.
or is it repeating the shall taxes be increased? That's, to summarize it.
Just
Oh,
speaks
that's
to the resolution.
What's
Yeah,
our
it should
deadline?
just read. I honestly don't even, it's kind of a summary of what comes up above, but it's not for the resolution.
Yeah, but there's nothing in there about the resolution. We're dealing with that today.
That's why, if you were gonna change
I
anything,
think,
it would take that out and put taxes, should taxes be increased?
that's,
I'm not trying to slow the process down, but I just think that's a very weird paragraph.
No, I think that's a
I'm just
mistake.
wondering why that should even be part of the ballot issue at all.
And then the next question was, if we don't think it should be, do we have to go back to the bond attorneys and ask them?
Yeah, how did that get in there? Do we know?
That's what the bond attorneys provided as a working
What do you think? Shannon, is
No,
my question reasonable or not?
That is.
I have no idea.
I think it's reasonable, and you should say show the imposition of a 2% sales tax. If you're gonna change it, put that in there so it's clear. Because a lot of people won't read all of the other and go straight to the question.
The question is, do you wanna increase taxes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be modified, but, I mean, we can ask the bond attorneys if we can just,
Who is the
Modify.
specific bond attorney you're talking about? Is it,
yeah, it's Thomas, what's the name of it?
I think his last name is spelled Kutak, right?
does he answer the phone quickly or not? Is he pretty responsive or not?
I mean, they are by email. I mean, it's
Why don't you, we could defer this.
That could just be taken out, I don't see that it's.
I don't see why it's necessary, other than if you wanna summarize, therefore, should the taxes be increased, whatever it says.
Yeah, I'd be fine with therefore shall there be an imposition of the sales tax.
Right.
well, so let me ask this, can you approve the resolution with the understanding that we're gonna talk to Kutak Rock to clarify that last paragraph? We won't change anything else but that last paragraph, just on the verbiage on that? Because today's the drop dead date.
Right, so we could,
We don't have it anymore, there is no more wiggle room. We've put it off, we've kicked this can so far down the road, we can't tell
So,
we can't.
So the answer is, we can, if we're gonna clarify it, but let's see what we can do. Maybe we can defer voting on this right now, and trying to get a hold of them.
Right below that, it has
Yes or no, see, so that's the ballot,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's the vote you're gonna do today, you know, there's 3 to nothing, 2 to
Oh.
whatever.
I disagree, sir, only because everything above that's in caps, which would go on the ballot.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
So,
that language, I mean, if it was in, you know.
We don't
make
need-
small letters,
Right.
give a separate heading to it or something,
yeah,
that makes it clear it's not.
maybe that's what, maybe you're,
Valid question.
that's a good point. Maybe whoever wrote that was thinking that this is gonna be presented to us, so therefore are we gonna approve the resolution for this ballot, I guess, is maybe how he was looking at it.
Well, if you go clear to the bottom of the document, it has the roll call vote.
The resolution documentation
Yeah, I know,
at the
but-
bottom.
Right,
Yeah.
but maybe that's what, he just left that in there, thinking that we would handle it. I don't know,
Well, I'm assuming that this is the yes, for, no, against is part of the ballot.
That would be me
Yeah.
too, and that's why that shouldn't be,
That it's
that
not us.
paragraph shouldn't be in there.
I would be fine with just waiting a little bit until.
Yeah, let's wait, let's just defer this,
Get a hold of you.
let's,
That's what Ann's doing, I'm
Yeah, she's
You
assuming.
can try.
Okay.
I would like to make one more comment, though, before, you know, we get back to that. I was given a sample format that I followed, as far as the language that's gonna go on the ballot, I followed that exactly, I didn't make any changes there. I had some leeway and some discretion as far as the whereas clauses, and I did make considerable changes there to tailor it. And that's for the purpose of talking points going forward to sell this.
Right.
I made reference to the county statute, for example, that says, and I even put it in italics that for emphasis, that each county at its own expense shall provide a suitable courthouse, and shall provide a sufficient jail, and shall keep the good repair. So if anybody has any question about, why are we doing this, why doesn't the state take care of it or something? The statutory obligation falls on the county, no money comes from the
required.
state. Right. You know, state judicial doesn't give you any money for, you know, but they build themselves a Taj Mahal, you know, if they're in Denver, at the state level, for state
Yeah.
judicial functions, but, you know, and they are gonna ultimately sort of have to pass on, I'm assuming nobody has any questions of what to come up with as far as the design. It's a very nice design for a judicial facility combined with the law enforcement part of it, but as far as when the committee is trying to sell this, they can refer to that as,
Yeah.
this is what the state statute requires. I wanted to point that out. So those are the talking points and emphasizing the legal obligation of the county to come across with some money one way or another.
so,
So that was my question. Now, if I may, sir, my comment is kind of back to what Ann and Sheriff Byler were talking about. I had somebody saying, why the hell is county commissioners trying to raise our taxes? And I said to that person very adamantly, you're way off base. We are not trying to raise your taxes. We are asking you, the public, if you want to raise your taxes. We don't have that authority. And so I said, it's our job to come forward with things to allow, in my opinion, to allow the citizens of this county to vote and decide if they want to raise their own taxes. I'm going to vote to raise mine or vote not to raise mine as a citizen. And so I wanted to be clear about that. Obviously, everybody in this room knows it, but there's people in this county that thinks the commissioners just make a decision to raise their taxes, and that's just not true. The other thing I come in line with what Ann said was, we have to look forward. Somebody has to bite the bullet and have the political stamina and wherewithal to say, let's give this to the voters and let them decide and pay the price for fallout politically, whatever that is. I know for a fact, as an example, the Sanitation and Water Department put that decision off through 6 or 7 different boards. They just didn't have what it took to say, we got to do something. And now everything's blown up in their face, and they don't have any choice. The current administration of Round Mountain Water and Sanitation has got to take that on the chin, and it should have been dealt with probably 25, 30 years ago. And those board members I talked to, those former board members said, hey, we weren't going to do that. It wasn't going to happen on our watch. And I just don't believe that is responsible government. So we all have talked, that's worked on this, what blows up in our face could look like eventually if we don't do something, because by statute we are forced to do the things that Clint alluded to. So I just wanted to make those points. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good point. And to clarify one thing that in my mind that discussion brings up, we bring things to the people that are, and consider things they want, you all want. Either you need, like a good road, or a good jail. And oh, by the way, good jails are a requirement that we have to bring, and by statute, to you to consider. And we can't get out of it. It's not an option not to have a jail or not to have a courthouse, period. And so all we can do is say, and there's only one way to pay for it, we gotta get tax money to pay for it. Now you have a choice, new tax money, or you take what we have and drop a program. Awful hard to drop a program. We don't have enough programs to drop that we pay above what's required to even come close to funding this. So that's what the taxpayer has to understand, and that's my hope is what we have to communicate when we go out to bring this to the voters. Because it's not about why do the commissioners want to do it. We do it because, as Tom said, you ask us to do things that are that makes it a requirement. The majority of you ask for it. And the other piece is if it's a requirement by statute from that we have no control of.
Well, I would move that we defer this till later in the meeting.
I'll second that, and we'll consider this as the last item, and we won't stop until we get resolution on the wording, or that we understand that we'll either have to leave it in by some rule, or that we will change it to be appropriate.
One other part I'd just like to mention, I think probably most people understand this, that there's not really a plan B. I mean, if this is not approved, state judicial is gonna step in and make you do it.
Right.
They've done that on occasion where they come in for years for the county, your courthouse does not meet our standards of what a courthouse should be, and you do it. We don't care where you get the money from, but you've gotta do it.
You have to do it. And that could happen tomorrow, it could happen in like Round Mountain, 4 years down the road, and you're still in the same jam. You're in a worse jam because the cost of money is more. It's gonna be more expensive.
There's very glaring examples back of what you said.
So
Yeah,
I
go
would,
ahead.
just for the argument of transparency, so we know, so the state won't just come in and say, you're going to do it. What happens is a lawsuit gets filed with the state for a violation of someone's rights. That could happen today, that could happen tomorrow, it could be 10 years. It's going to need for someone to file that lawsuit. Once they do, then the state hears that you know, Archuleta County, Cotton and Jam, and some other counties. So, I mean, I don't wanna use the threat,
Yeah, it's not a higher order.
factor, you know, to the citizens to look.
You're right, it still goes right back to the home, where does it occur?
We're just living on our in a precarious situation, and it could or could not happen.
Okay. All right, been moved and seconded to move this to the, end of the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Cam, aye. All right, next up, consideration of a county ordinance requiring dogs to be on leashes. I'm gonna leave that up to you, Kevin, to introduce for us, and then whatever motion's appropriate.
I believe you ladies are here for that, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't, talked to you face to face. I think we've exchanged some emails. And these ladies are from San Isabel and have asked me to, bring this to us, today, and I guess I'll turn it over.
And the reason for that is you're gonna let them explain.
I will let them explain that. I believe it's, because there are some, problems with, on-leash dogs in San Isabel. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a question.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity, and we're here today to maybe find some solutions.
Can you state your name, for
Terry
the,
Richter, and I'm here in place of my husband, Guy Richter, who has a medical emergency with his dad. So, I live in San Isabel, we all live in San Isabel. We're here to try to find some solutions and ideas for, dog leash, specifically for San Isabel, not pertaining to Custer County and ranchers. Understandably, the ranchers need dogs, and, we have a specific problem in San Isabel, and that is a man on an ATV with a pit bull continually drives across Highway 165, and Sheriff Firely and I were just talking how fast the traffic is coming into the lodge area and at San Isabel. The intersection 165, 370. The traffic is so fast. If he is on his ATV, the dog is not on a leash, and it's a pit bull that's following behind him. Amanda will speak to the fact that she lives in that area and has seen near crashes several times because the dog has either stopped at a cabin, and the dog has, anyway, the dog pretty much has rule of all of San Isabel. The leash law only pertains to the campground. I've tried calling the animal protection, or humane services in Pueblo, and it's out of their jurisdiction, and I've tried talking directly to the man and asked him to put his dog on a leash, and he said that will never happen. And he did say he's been to court once already. He already paid $75. He's out of work. He's not paying $75 again. There doesn't seem to be, we have friendly exchange, and I've asked him a second time, please put your dog on a leash. And it's scaring kids, it's scaring even older people. It's an intimidating dog, and in fact, because the dog is not on a leash, it goes wherever it wants to go. It does its business in everyone's yard. Even if you don't have a dog, you now have got a pile to clean up. You can't even keep your door open to get fresh air in the summer because the dog comes right into your house and has gone in and eaten their food and other dogs' food and water.
The dog reigns free.
Yeah, the dog
reigns free in our community.
And, so the owner, we're trying to think how we can work with him. Impounding the dog probably is not going to work. The dog we just don't have a leash law there. There are leash laws within the campground, but around the lake is where we specifically are asking to have a leash law.
Honestly, I think it's a good idea anyways. I'm here on behalf of Jennifer and Doug Pollock, that own the San Isabel Lodge now, Aspen Acres Campground and the Pine Lodge. because of the amount of guests that we have coming in and out there that are visiting, and then the people that come up to recreate there, there's issues all the time with dogs not being unleashed. Our own housekeeping supervisor was attacked by a pit bull as well as her dog 2 weeks ago. That's the fourth attack that's happened since I've been here, and I've only been here for 2 months. So, reported and unreported. I just feel like because of the volume of people out there, and your responsible pet owner itself, they need to be on leashes. It prevents, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, it prevents these issues in the future. We have one on our own property, Doug and Jennifer with the San Isabel and the campground. We have leash laws there that, the guests have to have their animals on a leash. But the people coming in, especially the residents that come across that highway, et cetera, they don't have that same, requirement. And it's causing a lot of problems right there. I can't speak for the rest of the county, all I can tell you is what we see there, so I think it would be a good idea.
He's so unreasonable, I mean, he's just closed-minded about any suggestion, and the dog has on a couple occasions practically knocked me over. Weighs almost as much as I do. And he's strong, he's a strong dog, and I'm fearful of him. And that's my problem, to be fearful. But there's just no common sense or reasoning with the owner of that dog to try to make life comfortable for everybody.
Okay, that's the issue.
Shannon's tied up here right now. I would like to get
Yeah.
his input on this in a second.
Yeah, and if I may,
Go ahead.
I think I understand your concern and have a feel for your concern. I own a dog, I'm not a big dog person, tell you that right up front. I've done some research. I think we're gonna have some problems with your request. I don't think we have the authority to impose a leash law unless it's county-wide. I've seen nothing in the statute that says you can pick a part of the county and enforce a leash law. You've mentioned leash laws. I don't think that's accurate. I think you may have rules that say your dog has to be on a leash in the campground. Well, that is not a law, okay? So there's a difference between a leash law and rules of private enterprises imposing those. Colorado Revised Statute 3015-101 spells out everything about imposing a leash law for a county. Clearly, the county commissioners have the authority to do that. But there's some inherent issues doing that. One, we'd have to fund that. Currently, and I think we're gonna consider it, at the August 30th board meeting, is to enter into an agreement for animal control with Fremont County. We don't have any animal control in Custer County. We sub-farm that out to Fremont County. We don't have a place to pound dogs or other animals, not just dogs, any pet animals as the statute calls it out. So, if we were to enforce a quote-unquote leash law, then we'd also have to have a certified animal control officer and a vehicle that's, designed and authorized for that kind of use, and then all the equipment and the training that goes with that. I've spoken to Sheriff Biley about this, at some length. I could not find anywhere in statute that we would have the authority to put a leash law in effect in a certain part of the county. I thought initially, well, this isn't gonna work, I got these ranchers. They're already exempted, okay? So you don't have to worry about the agricultural ranch aspect of leash laws. Even if we had one, animals used in the agricultural enterprise are exempt from that anyway, okay? And we're a right-to-ranch county, so that's a no-brainer. That would not be part of the equation. I'll let you go ahead and then, because you had a question for...
And I think you spoke to part of that, but I was gonna get Shannon's input on this as far as, because I think in our email string, you know, I alluded to the fact that, at this point, the sheriff's office, or if we did this, we'd have to have an animal control officer. But as far as the logistics of even enforcing it, just because it's on the books doesn't mean the dog's magically gonna go on a leash. It has to be enforced, and so I wanted Shannon to kind of speak to some of that, if you could.
So, just ladies and gentlemen, so, one of the first solutions, because from what Mr. Flower said and what Mr. Day said as well, so, first off, it's really tough for the commissioners to do it because town of San Isabel isn't incorporated to where you can pass your own ordinances. Makes it hard from a countywide perspective. But where I would go with this is there is a solution to this. There is a solution. And that is you have to call the sheriff's office so that we can go out. We deal with dogs all the time. So there's a vicious dog law statute. It's a statewide Colorado statute. I can't recite it off, but it's 18. So, and then there's also a Title 33 law. So, Title 33 is wildlife. So dogs chasing deer, elk, bears, raccoons, all that type of stuff. Harassing wildlife that the DOW deals with. But we deal with, it's a vicious dog is the title, but it covers a lot of things. Like you say that you're scared of this dog's knocked you over, those type of things. We can absolutely write tickets for that. Now, this gentleman that you're referring to, I don't know his name, but you said, so we've written him a ticket at least once already, and he says, well, he's not gonna pay anymore. So what happens there is, well, I can care less what his intent is. If his dog is acting viciously or offensively, we go out there, we write him a ticket. He doesn't pay the ticket. We take his dog. We take it away, and it goes to the impound, and then he's not allowed to get it back until he pays the fine. And if he tells the deputy, well, I'm not paying this, okay, then we just take his dog right then and there. The dog is not allowed. So even though there isn't a leash law, quote unquote, they still have to keep their dogs under control so that they're not harassing people, other dogs, any of those type of things. And so, like Amanda, I believe that's your name, ma'am. So you said that you know of at least 3 times when of people being attacked or bitten or something by dogs. So I would pose the question: do you know if we got a phone call or not?
On 2 of those, yes, he came and wrote a report, so one of the officers.
And somebody got a ticket?
I don't believe he issued tickets at that point in time, but you'd have to look at the report.
Okay, I can look at that. So.
But that's why we have that relationship with the Fremont County town, because
so we can impound a dog and take it to Fremont County.
Right.
One of these gentlemen talked about that we're gonna be talking with Fremont County about animal control. Well, Fremont County won't do animal control for us, but they will allow us to impound dogs.
Yes, and that's what I was
society. And so we don't, the key comes down to is that we have to know about it, right? So we have, don't hesitate to call us about it. I mean, we come to San Isabel and we try to be over there as much as we can, and we're on 165 all the time because everybody crashes there. But we're not, I mean, that's our responsibility. San Isabel's our responsibility. If there's a dog that's causing issues, then we have to deal with that. And we will. Irregardless of if that man wants to take responsibility for his dog, he is responsible for him and what he does or doesn't do. And so if you have a dog that just comes in your house that's unacceptable. And we can deal with that, and we would be happy to. Please don't hesitate and to call us. I can give you my card, and we'll write down the number where you call dispatch. Please don't call me because I don't always answer my phone, or I'm not always in the office. But if you call dispatch has somebody on the radio all the time, and they can send them over to deal with it. And we can help you resolve that. It's not a perfect world, I don't want you to think that the dog will disappear, but we can take measures to resolve them.
And let me make a point too. Is the camp that you're referring to is San Isabel Forest or not? Is it part of the, campground? If it is, then the Forest Service also, the rule is, you know, if it's the same thing, pack of dogs is a problem, you shoot them. That's vicious dogs, same thing, if that becomes an issue. Or you, report it and the sheriff can deal with it if it's in the county. So you have avenues as opposed to trying to burden the whole county with the issue. And the last thing is, that's the case with a lot of our, zoning rules and the use of agricultural ground issues. It's about neighbors being neighbors, and he's not being a neighbor, I can see that. And working with each other first, because there's a lot of things that you could say, I wanna go get a law to do this, that, and the other. Pretty soon you've got a whole bunch of laws and no way to enforce them because nobody's too expensive, you can't do it anyway. So, I'm glad we've had this discussion, I hope it's helped. Tom?
I guess maybe a question for Shannon, because I was thinking about other solutions, rather than just shooting the dog, which I'll guarantee you, I wouldn't have a problem with that if the dog came on my property.
That's right.
But I'm not saying that's what you should do, I'm just.
Yeah, we're not advocating.
No, I'm not advocating.
But here's my.
Here's threatening you, or you're getting hurt, or they're hurting someone. If a dog attacks your dog and you shoot it, you're justified to do that, but again, we're not having.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just telling you what I would do personally. But my point is this, Sheriff, to me, this is just bizarre, but I'll use it because you brought it up. I'm in my house watching TV and a damn pit bull walks in. I'm gonna catch him up and I'm gonna haul his butt down to Fremont County and put him in the pound and tell them people, this is who I think owns the dog, but other than that, I'm walking out. And I'll do it every time.
I don't know if I'd pick up a pit bull.
So is that, could I do that as a landowner, just get the dog caught and haul it to the pound, right? You do that with a stray dog.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Catch the dog and haul him up to the dog pound.
That's what I said, if you can
you
catch
certainly
him.
could.
Yes, if he's on your property.
The dog's as big as me.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but he'd have to be on your property, you couldn't go on to somebody else's
You
property.
could get 10 teenagers to grab
But
it.
if he came on your property, and Shannon mentioned it, and I cross-referenced those, section 18 is vicious dogs, section 33 is wildlife, which is a whole nother deal. And we're not talking about that, but if it's in your opinion, a vicious dog, the owner has the responsibility of the control and responsibility for the dog.
And when I give you my card, I'm also gonna, and Thomas may not be real happy about this, but his name is Thomas Dunphy, he's the Forest Service law enforcement officer. And so I'll give you his cell phone number as well. And so if people are having issues with dogs in the campgrounds, he can come up and he can, because campgrounds are governed different than towns or the county. He can also issue them a citation, and that's a little different, because that sucks for them, because they have to go to Denver to resolve that ticket, because it's in federal court.
Federal court. And you've seen it on TV already. Colorado Springs has a vicious dog, and the next thing you know, the dog's been put down. They grab him, do exactly what we did.
He isn't, he's as big as pest in the neighborhood.
Well, or a pest is the same.
Yeah,
Eventually
it's a
becomes the
nuisance dog.
same. It's a nuisance.
It's a nuisance.
Yeah, he's not a vicious.
Yeah, vicious.
And that's not to say he's a pit bull, it's not to say he might decide to off day and attack. You can't count on the dog.
Well, my wife worked in the emergency room at Parkview for 17 years. Ask her just randomly to name the two breeds of dogs that are responsible for 95% of injuries to people, mostly children. You know what the answer to that's going to be. So, I think we all are compassionate about your situation. Personally, I don't believe, unless we're going to impose a county-wide leash law, that we can help you other than what we've done this morning.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea either, because there's a two-part problem. There's this dog, which they live there, so so they deal with the consequences of that more. And then there's also the issues of everybody else that comes up there, because we have.
With their dog.
But they're still under
Kind of
the
a
same
two-part
rule,
problem.
though, that if it's a problem, the sheriff can find them if they're still around. I mean, that's just the way life is. People come and go, no matter what law you have on the books. Even if it was a leash law, he'd be out of town by the time somebody tries to find him. So, anyway, we need to move on. I hope this discussion's helped, but we haven't had results.
Just one thought as well, and this is just, I'm just throwing out a thought. So, there's nothing that stops you as San Isabel from putting up some signs that say dogs are required to be on a leash.
Oh.
As long as you don't reference a county or
Yeah, you just say
state statute.
all dogs required to be on leash, you get the point. There's nothing that stops that. That keeps honest people honest, right? We all know, just like the locks on our doors, it keeps honest people honest. Somebody that's intent on getting in your house is gonna figure out a way to do it, either way, but I think most people, if they see those signs, they're like, you're gonna get a large
Or
portion
even,
of those people that just
that's a
hold
very
on to
good
it, 'cause
point.
it's the right thing to do, right?
Even verbiage that says, keep your animal under control.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I would say that you might be surprised just the effect of having a few signs up.
Great, that's a great,
But you gotta be careful, because when you imply there's a law, then people are gonna think there is, and they'll be inundating somebody with a lot of calls.
You wouldn't say it's a law, just say required. If they say by who, well, by the people who live in this village.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
Before you,
Kevin's got a point, wait a minute.
I just wanted to ask you ladies if if this was beneficial to you today.
It was beneficial,
Okay.
Very good. The last, dog required on the leash is a big thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, and, I hope it works out well.
thanks for your time.
Thank you for your.
You're welcome.
All right, let's take 5 minutes, guys. Get back here, I wanna talk to Ann and see what we got, maybe we can move quicker.
So we're in recess.
We're in recess until 10:30. That's high risk. Oh, it's gone.
County.
Rich, say
Nate, can you hear us?
then you're on there twice.
You'll need to push star six to unmute yourself. Christmas card related.
Yeah, so the next time you pay your own, look at that receipt, it's kind of ridiculous. 22 cents.
Nate, can you hear us?
22 written on it.
Oh, you did?
You'll need to push star six to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I never looked, I just paid $100. Additional.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, Nate, we got you, so hang on a second.
All right, good.
All right, we're back in session now, everybody, and we did move this item so that we could handle it as soon as Nate dialed in, and he has dialed in. So, Nate, we were gonna ask you a question. I think Ann had already posed it, that last paragraph before the yes, for or against.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it to you, because I don't think you have it in front of you, do you?
Well, I do actually.
Oh, you do? Good.
I have an older version, but I have it in front of me.
Okay, so the question is, I think this was a mistake because it was referring to the commissioners to vote it, as how I read it, should we approve the resolution? It's not the resolution. Should it read, therefore, should an imposition of a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved is really basically, are you trying to summarize it with the, so that the voter can then go the yes or no, and would that be appropriate or not?
Okay, well, yeah, this is the bond council drafted it. So what, I guess, what's the question? Because
You're cutting out.
You're passing this resolution to put it on the ballot, and if they vote yes, then that's it.
Okay, let me clarify what's happening here, Nate. We have the resolution in front of us with all the reasons, and we have information as commissioners to make a decision now whether we want this to go to the ballot. This
Correct.
was put in this for us to consider the wording of the ballot, and that's
Correct.
what we're worrying, and this is I don't believe was meant to be the wording on the ballot necessarily, because it's referring to the resolution. We're not putting that in front of the taxpayers. They're not approving the resolution. They are answering the question.
This resolution, though, imposes the tax if they vote for it.
Well, they're not voting for the resolution. We are.
Right.
This is a meeting to place it on the ballot.
Correct.
The taxpayers are not voting to put this on the ballot. They're voting to either have a tax or not.
I'm going to have to get bond counsel on the line then to tell, because that's a legal call, not a financial call. Hold on just a minute. Let me try and, I'm going to have two phones here. I'm going to try and call them separately.
All right, well then we'll put you on mute and we'll continue. We'll wait for you to come back.
I can put you on mute.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that and then come back. Okay, Gary, let's hear about graders and be more fun. I think right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
You may get interrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, I know a couple of weeks ago when we had the regular meeting, I mentioned to you about the possibility of purchasing a couple of motor graders. I needed a little bit more time to think about it before we made a decision, or you did either. And I still feel like the John Deere is the best way to go. It's going to save about $26,000 per machine, $52,000 total. I've gotten with Byron and the operators that ran both. We demoed the Cat and the John Deere, but overall, after talking to Byron and inspection, how user-friendly it was as far as servicing the machine, where the filters were located and everything like that. And we've had Cat and John Deere in the past, and his opinion is that we go with the John Deere. So between the two machines, that would save us about $52,000, 26 apiece. So then I went to the finance part of it, and I checked with Kirkpatrick and
and their finance rate is 3%. Four Rivers is 2.25%. And, we can either go with Kirkpatrick for that finance rate for 5 years, and our payments would be $109,814.75 a year for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, it would be paid for, both machines. And then...
That's for two machines?
Correct.
$109,000, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then with Four Rivers, if we went with them, they've got a new program where you pay, considerably less for the two machines' annual payment, which is $48,967.16, and at the end of 6 years, you make a one-time balloon payment of $300,000, or you can opt to trade both machines in, and they'll be valued at a minimum of $150,000, and if the market value is more than that, it'd go up, but it's a minimum of $150,000.
Gives you a lot more cash flow to deal with, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I like about the Four Rivers option, is it gives you some flexibility with your budget. You're not committing yourself to $110,000 a year for 5 years, and it just ties up that much money. And then the nice thing about the Four Rivers option is, in a good year where you have some surplus money left over at the end of the year, you could have a special account set aside.
Pay it off.
And just put that money in there, and then at the end of your 5 or 6 years, then you'd have that money to go ahead and pay the machines off if you want to own them, or you can just trade them back in, so.
Tom, you got it?
I did have a question on this document you gave us. It's entitled Rent Schedule. Is this kind of a blend between, when you said at the end of 5 years we would own that, that's Kirkpatrick, that's not Four Rivers deal?
No, that's, after 5 years, we would own it.
Okay. That would just be how we would decide to lease purchase this vehicle.
Yeah.
So they're looking at it as renting us the machine, is what?
Well, as a government agency, we can actually take that
I
loan
know.
and buy it, so,
Right.
and they call it a rent.
Okay.
I think.
They just term it.
Under a lease purchase.
Yeah, or lease purchase,
I
rent.
can't
And
call
this
it that.
document reflects both machines throughout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin, you,
I'll speak in regards to the Four Rivers. With a balloon payment like that, that's something that I think I would make sure was in my budget to have set money back each year to make sure you had that $300,000 on that 6th year for that payment. That's a big chunk of change if you're not looking forward to that.
Well, yeah,
It
would fall on the responsibility of the individual in charge to make sure that, and even if I wasn't around in a couple of years, that's the information I would have to pass on.
did they say they would do they guarantee they'll take it back?
Yeah.
So you could avoid that by just saying, give me a new machine and I'll keep paying $50,000.
Yeah,
Just
you could
re-up this
structure.
agreement?
Yeah.
That's what I thought was kind of appealing, was the balloon payment equals the trade-in value on both machines. So it's then up to Road and Bridge either financially say, whoops, forgot about that, we better trade these in and then rewrite this kind of an agreement again, or make a decision, do you want to trade them in or keep them?
Well, and that's the appealing thing about it too, if we got into financial hardship as a county or as a Road and Bridge Department, you've got that option, so that's kind of a bailout.
When's the warranty on these? Is it a 5-year warranty?
5-year, $5,000.
There'd be no reason not to keep getting a $50,000 new.
Well, that's a lot of counties do. They, upgrade their machines every year, and they continue to have that.
That would make all kinds of sense, because then all your parts are covered.
You have a engine failure, which is
Yeah.
possible. I mean, that's happened in a new
That's
machine.
pretty appealing. I don't know why we'd want to own it.
Are you in a situation to tell us what you would want from the commissioners today?
Well, I'd like to go ahead and proceed with the approval to purchase two machines from Four Rivers at $284,899 per machine for a total of $569,798.
Okay, ours says 502.
502.
Oh, I'm sorry, 50. Well, actually, $569,798 is before trade,
Oh, okay.
and then, the actual price is before.
So if we voted today at the 502 number, we're also voting to trade those machines in.
Yeah, so I would prefer that we voted for the $569,798.
And then decide.
Yeah, and then decide if we wanna actually sell them.
So we don't have that number, 569,
Yeah, 569, 798 is what,
okay.
That's what they're worth now.
well, yeah, that's the purchase price of.
That's what I meant,
Yeah,
What was the last three, 569?
798.
98.
yeah,
Price for two JDs. Model numbers on those, do you have them?
672G, six-wheel drive, 672G.
Okay. Does that include the equipment on the rear end of the blade?
No, I went ahead and I just excluded that.
Okay.
That would be a
An
separate purchase. And that's, you know, financially, if we're able to afford those, you know, and then I'm coming near that.
How much are they?
They're about 24,000.
So your first couple of years, you can buy a couple, easy enough, with the difference in the price.
Yeah,
So, that's no ripper or anything then?
that's the ripper, but it's, but they're talking about the walk and roll.
Right.
Okay.
But it does come with a ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. 3 shank or 5 shank?
I think it's got actually five.
5 holes.
Nate, you back online?
Yeah, I'm back online. Real quickly, Tom Pell's bond counsel is gonna come on here, and so I gave him the call-in information. So if you could have your, tech person look here, Tom will be calling in here shortly and should be logging in.
I'll go see if he's outside.
Okay, hang tight here then, Nate.
Yeah, because if any changes need to get made, I think he'll need to be the one to kind of oversee that.
So you're assuming, Nate, that the language you're looking at, that's all in caps, is the ballot issue on the ballot, right?
Yes.
And,
Yep.
and that's why we're confused, because I can't imagine us asking the taxpayers to approve a resolution that we're considering
Well,
today.
the resolution upon passage will impose the tax.
Well,
But I'll let Tom explain it, Bill. It's probably best if I don't.
he's confused.
I'll just confuse you.
Well,
Confuse myself.
that paragraph in the meantime, that I think will solve the problem,
Okay.
but.
Yeah, we'll have you read it to him.
Uh,
Yeah, I think that's the problem. They think that's a
I think
resolution.
I know what Nate's trying to say. You guys are kinda talking
Right.
the same thing, only different, so.
Exactly what I thought.
Do you see Tom trying to come on yet?
See him coming on?
Yeah, he said he's monitoring it.
He's monitoring it. He,
So whenever he calls in.
just, go back to mute for a few minutes then, Nate, and
All right.
Yeah, he's outside trying to make connection with his cell phone to get him hooked up with
so
it.
we'll,
Well, apparently he hadn't called yet.
he hadn't
He'll
called.
patch him in as soon as he
Yeah.
calls.
all right, so we're gonna finish our discussion, then.
Okay. All right.
And I think where Gary was recommending Four Rivers at 569,798 for a model 672G.
Yeah,
And
all-wheel drive.
Kevin was in the middle of quizzing you.
I asked you on that. In regards to this, then, you would be recommending the Four Rivers lease. Do you have, I know this is an unbudgeted expense, where were you going to try to come up with the $49,000 for this year then? To make, does that first payment come due this year or next year?
No, it wouldn't.
Payment date is 12/15/22, is that right?
The trade service, the first year's payment, so even if this deal was done before the end of this year, we owe nothing in 2022. If we don't receive the machines till after the first of the year, say January of 2022, we won't be responsible for the first payment until 2023.
So that you're following receipt of said machines.
Yeah, so you can budget that.
So,
It's pretty
yeah,
good.
that's the beauty of
Makes
it.
it even better.
We don't owe any money next year. We don't have to budget anything for payment next year because the trade service that first year.
Do you deal with a salesman at Four Rivers?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, believe it or not, somebody asked me that.
Yeah, they've got a salesman that represents Four Rivers as well as Wagner.
There's multiple salesmen there, correct, at Four Rivers?
Yes, there's like 3 in that office. For this area up here, Custer County, we deal with this gentleman named Chad Parker.
Chad Parker. Thank you.
my point of view, I think it's a pretty good deal.
I think so, and you know, it's one of those situations we're forced into. We've got to continually upgrade these motor graders. You know, the last ones were bought in 13 years ago. It's time, and, we've done some upgrading with other equipment, so we're in a position that I think a couple of motor graders would be.
Okay, we don't have a motion on the floor. You want a motion?
I'm getting ready to throw one out unless the old former,
Let's let the former dude do it.
I move that we allow, Gary Hyde with Road and Bridge to move ahead with purchase of a lease agreement for 2 John Deere 672Gs through the Four Rivers payment schedule.
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the request to purchase 2 motor graders from John. Lease purchase, 2 motor graders. The price of $569,798, model 672Gs with Four Rivers. Any discussion? More discussion?
well, I would assume we have access to their CCI, choose my words carefully here, opportunity to visit with the Four Rivers folks at CCI meeting in December.
Yeah, we can talk to them. Which Gary will be going to.
Sure.
Yeah,
They have a little open house thing at CCI, so
yeah, I'd like to go.
if we don't get.
You can get a hat. I've got one.
My only comment is I'm sad that it's not a cat.
I hate having the Wetmore Kingdom sad down here.
Well,
All right, any public discussion? None. All right, let's, call for the vote. Tom?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Canned aye. Okay, thank you, Gary. Good presentation. Good job getting a good price. Okay, Nate, we're back on now and you're ready to go.
Has Tom tried to come on yet?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Nate.
All right. Everyone, we got Tom Peltz on the line, who's a partner at QTAC Rock, bond counsel firm. And Tom is the one I think who can address the questions about the specifics, as well as the resolution that was prepared by, I believe, himself and then the county attorney as well. So, you guys, Bill, do you want to direct that question to Tom? He's aware of where the language is that's being.
Yeah, I'm going to. I will ask. I'll point out the question. I'm going to then let Clint Smith, our attorney, suggest a change because of the issue, and then let's hear what Tom's got to say. So, Tom, the issue really is before us is our resolution 2111, which is a resolution for the Board of Commissioners to consider putting this on the ballot, not putting it, not the taxpayer question issue. It's about bringing it to the ballot on November. In this resolution, it has all the reasons why it needs to be on there, and it includes a copy of the ballot language itself, which I think you helped develop. We believe that there was a mistake in the last paragraph right before the yes or against that referred to this resolution to be voted on by the taxpayers. It's not the resolution, it's the question itself, should taxes be raised? Our attorney, who has been working with all the changes that were made to his original document, has incorporated everything, and we all got looking at this, and we think this may be a typo or a mistake. So, Clint, would you explain that?
Well, the way that paragraph, final paragraph of the ballot issue reads, it shall resolution number 21-11 of Custer County providing for the imposition of sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved. It sounds like resolution has already approved the sales tax, and that's not what we're asking. I suggest change that first clause to read shall resolution number 21-11 of Custer County, referring to the registered electors of said county, a proposal to impose a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved, comma, be approved by the said electors, comma, making it clear that your resolution is just referring the matter to the voters. It's not something you've already decided is done. And if we could word it to make that clear, that the resolution is referred to the registered electors of Custer County, whether or not they want to impose the sales and use tax. I think that would clarify it, at least to my satisfaction.
Tom, did you hear the discussion?
Yes, yeah, and I guess,
you
that's a fine approach. That the intent really is, in other counties that have sort of used this format and kind of came up with it, the intent is that this actually is the resolution, and that no further action would be required by the board. But you could, basically set it up so that subsequent action is required by the board. That'd be okay too, and add an effective date paragraph that basically indicates that something like, you want the paragraph 5 and maybe the election paragraphs to be effective, but then the subsequent paragraphs will only be effective upon additional action by the board or something. But the intent is that this is the resolution.
Well, your term resolution is maybe what's confusing us, because we're considering putting this. We want to put this on the ballot. We want to do it legally, and and in order to do that, we had to vote on what the language was going to be that we were putting in front of the taxpayer to raise their taxes. Right. I don't know why we even have to take further action. We want to get this over with. We want to approve sending the ballot forward to be considered. Okay, so why would this be in front of the taxpayer to see our resolution that we decided to take it to them by?
The main reason is that there's information in this resolution relating to the creation of the fund. Let me open it up. And it's additional to kind of what's in the ballot measure language.
Okay.
And so it just directs the elector to, or incorporates by reference, if you will, the probably the section 9, 10, and 11, which are kind of additional to, although 9 and 10 are kind of, they're probably a bit perfunctory anyway, because you've already got a sales tax, but.
So you're saying that that's something for them that they could go refer to after the fact, or?
Well, in conjunction with their approval. But I guess, if you didn't want to reference, is the question, so is providing for the imposition? Is the word approved I'm sorry, Clint, could you read the language, the modified language again?
Shall resolution number 21-11 of Custer County, referring to the registered electors of Custer County, a proposal to impose a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved by said electors, comma, and then the rest will remain the same.
Yeah, sure. That's a fine clarification. Sure.
Tom's got our Tom here, Tom Flowers has a comment here.
Yeah, Mr. Peltz, Tom Flower, County Commissioner. I'm the one that brought this up today. If I read this ballot measure correctly, everything that is in caps would show up on the ballot, correct?
Correct.
So my question is, then, I challenge this last paragraph, shall resolution 2111 be approved I don't think so. I don't think the voters have anything to do with 2111. I don't have a problem referencing that this ballot initiative was part of the Custer County Commissioner's Resolution 2011, but I don't see that the voters are going to approve this resolution. I just don't think the resolution has anything to do with the ballot measure.
I don't want to confuse.
Got it. I mean, if you wanted to say,
Go ahead.
if you wanted to say is set forth in Resolution 2021
Right,
of the county.
That would be better.
Yeah. Or or in reference to Resolution 2011.
That would.
Then, or 2111, I'm fine with that. The voters are not going to have privilege to read this resolution in the ballot booth or in the voting booth. So I just thought that last paragraph could read, shall there be an imposition of a sales and use tax? It's almost because the very first statement says, shall Custer County taxes be increased? That's the real question. Not, we're going to approve or disapprove the resolution. I don't think the voters have anything to do with that.
The only thing that I'm looking at, and frankly, I mean, if it causes a lot of angst, Section 11 doesn't say much more than your bullets currently do, the bullets being the three purposes, I think.
Right.
If you wanted to drop the resolution reference in this instance, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that. So it would just say, shall all tax revenues generated, and continue on that way, which is the sort of the debrucing and so forth. I mean, my point being, for most people, because you only have a limited number of words in your ballot text, oftentimes the purposes and other things that are part of that tax resolution, just there's not enough room, and you don't want to put that much information in front of electors to confuse them. And so that's why there's a cross reference to it. In your case, you're not really doing that much more. You've got a tax in place, so collection, administration, and so forth, it's all done by the state.
Right.
It's statutory. And you're basically saying in Section 11 that the Custer County Justice Facility Fund is just doing, as long as the words constructing, installing, completing, operating, and maintaining are in that ballot language, it's not really doing anything more than you've got in your ballot measure.
That's right.
You could take it out. I don't know that you need to make specific reference. It's there, so if somebody challenged, for most instances, if somebody tries to challenge the use of proceeds out of that fund, you want to be able to say, well, it was referenced specifically in the ballot measure, so that's why we can spend that money. In this case, there really isn't that much difference between your bullets in that particular paragraph or Section 11, right?
Right.
So if you want it, if it's troubling, you can take it out. That's I don't think it affects legality.
Okay.
Unless there's a simpler way to say it, but I like it. I like taking it out.
I got another suggestion, but we can.
Go ahead, Clint.
Why don't we just say, shall this ballot issue, referring to the registered electors of Custer County, be approved by said electors? Take out reference to resolution number 2011. Instead, talk about the ballot issue.
Right,
being
not the
approved,
resolution.
Not the resolution.
Yeah, and I think we can hammer that out. If we're not going to get into a legal issue, making changes that we've talked about, we want to finish this today. So if we took out everything in context before the first comma in the last paragraph, we'd still be okay to move forward.
That's a question to you, Tom.
To you, yeah.
To me? Yeah. No, from my perspective, yes. I mean, if the county attorney's comfortable with it as well, we're good.
So it would read, shall all revenue generated from sales and use tax rates authorized herein and from any earnings from the investment of such revenues constitute a voter-approved revenue change.
Right, and is the county debruced?
Yeah.
by previous election.
Yes.
Yes.
If you've got a full debrucing, that covers, that would cover this tax measure or this tax increase, you could delete that whole last paragraph.
Okay.
What I think.
All right. That helps, thank you.
I know I get them, after hearing it, I get the reason they want to refer, Commissioner wanted to put this on the ballot, so per that ballot, will you please increase the tax? So, okay. I think, are we good with that, Clint?
Yeah, I think, I can take care of it from here.
Yeah. We're gonna erase it?
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. I don't think we need more input from
Okay.
Mr. Pelt, so I think.
Okay. Okay, we can let you two go if you.
Hey, no,
unless you got-
Bill.
Go ahead, we're not
Yeah.
hanging up.
Yeah, I was gonna, let's just make sure we've got it exactly like we want it before we do get off the phone. I just want to make sure that Clint's comfortable, Tom's comfortable, in particular, those two, and so that it reads exactly like we need it to. Maybe this is my non-legal mind here looking at it, but just want to make sure it's right before we go.
Okay. Clint, what do you want to do?
My preference would be to have it read, shall this ballot issue, referring to the registered electors of Custer County, a proposal to impose a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved.
That's good.
And the rest of it is good the way it is.
Okay.
If we're dropping on any reference to them approving resolution number 11, they are asking them to approve the ballot issue.
Right.
Okay.
If we word it that way, I think it's fine to leave that language in.
Okay.
Just the way, shall this ballot issue, referring to the registered electors of Custer County, a proposal to impose a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved.
Is that okay, Tom?
That's perfect.
Okay,
Nate?
good. No, I'm fine. I'm, we look to Tom later to give the opinion, so I just want to Clint to give the county's opinion, so just want to make sure we're all in concert here. So, if they're good, I'm good.
So, to re-summarize, I was trying to type in, shall this ballot issued for the imposition of a sales and use tax for a limited time be approved? And then the debrucings, we can leave it in there. I agree, it probably doesn't need to be, but we can. So I just said, shall this ballot issue for the imposition of the sales tax for a limited period of time be approved? That's the real question.
Well, it is, and I guess the extra language I put in there about referring to the registered electors, because this is a referendum.
It's already there.
So it's just, lawyers like to charge by the word, so I always try to slip in a few extra. I think it's fine to just do it the way Tom's done it, just, if they're asking them to whether or not they want to approve this ballot issue, I'll set forth. I'm good with that.
You good with that, Tom? You hear him?
No, I didn't quite catch the question.
Did you hear what Clint and Tom read back? Modified the first suggestion that Clint had.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the first time. Let's
hear, I want Tom Flower, our commissioner here, to read the language that we typed in as when the discussion went on. Go ahead, Tom.
I had just written in that, I'm not trying to be argumentative with our attorney, I'm trying to keep it simple. Shall this ballot issue for the imposition of a sales and use tax for a limited period of time be approved, comma, and then the debrucing statement? I'm fine with that.
I mean, that's fine with me too.
Okay.
Good.
Let's try it again. Everybody happy? Kevin, you happy?
I'm happy. It sounded good. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we know it's referring to the electors, right? Because they're the ones that are voting.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, guys, we're good.
I'll listen in. Are you guys going to vote on it now?
Yes.
I'll stay on. I'll just put it on mute.
Oh.
He wants to make sure we're not gonna
All right.
throw another curve. Any public comment? Any other people brave enough to try it?
I have some further discussion on our resolution before we vote.
How much is the increase?
2% sales tax.
That's out of that, when you're asking that?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the rest of what he
Yeah.
kept saying, debrucing.
Yeah, you missed that discussion earlier before you got here. It's a 2% sales and use tax increase.
$1,250,000 per year. Go ahead, Tom.
And so if we're still in discussion, obviously, of our resolution,
Right.
I want to change gears a little bit. Section 6A, countywide should be hyphenated to be correct.
I tried to be consistent on that, maybe I wasn't, 'cause
That's the only place I saw
I thought
it.
it was countywide elsewhere, but maybe I'm wrong.
So we can make that change.
Is it hyphenated somewhere else? I see.
Yes, it,
At the top of page 3 under purpose, it says countywide sales tax, and that's not hyphenated, so.
okay,
One time, you
Either way,
saw how
Top
they
of-
did it, I just went ahead and used their format.
you said it, what, at the top of page?
on
Top of
3,
page
right up
3,
there,
under
second sentence.
section 1A,
Oh,
purpose,
yeah,
second line.
yes.
It's
I believe that should be hyphenated as well.
it,
Other than that, I'm good.
was this on somebody else's ballot wrong? Is that where it came
I
from?
mean, it may actually even appear more frequently than that, I honestly,
Okay.
I just remember seeing.
All right, well, we'll clean up
it.
the countywide. Any other discussion?
If that's the pleasure of the board, change it to hyphenate that wherever it appears.
Is it appropriate either way? And then,
I hope we can do that by consent rather than.
yeah, we don't have to vote on it.
Yes.
We're just gonna approve it.
Yeah, that's just a spelling.
Yeah, but
And it- okay.
going to the ballots, it ought, going to the voters, in my opinion, it should be correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor of passing resolution number 21-11 as discussed? Say aye, Tom.
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay,
Cool.
the language is what it is.
All right. Oh, thanks for reaching out this morning, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for not crashing into somebody while you were doing it.
Oh, I'm just glad Shannon wasn't following me, or I'd be in real trouble.
He's got your license number, he's writing it down now. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Sir, if we are clearly disconnected, I just want you to know we probably made another $400 or $500 for Mr. Peltz, if he bills by the hour for his participation.
Oh, yeah, we could have brought that up, we'd have shut him off real quick.
We should have had a disclaimer from him when we started.
Yeah, this is
How much does this
clarifying your
cost?
language,
Yeah.
buddy.
How much does this cost us? We're doing your work, but,
Okay.
great. So we're good, and, oh, there you are.
They're approving
And-
it as.
Any comments?
They'll send out a, finalized copy from this meeting.
Yeah, it's
I think
it's
clear
already clear.
that Tina will make these changes that have been done on the record. She'll prepare the actual document.
And then before we leave, or no, today, we can sign it. Actually, I don't know, can't find the page, can we, right now? But it's not gonna, nothing's gonna roll forward, is it?
No, it didn't change any of my pagination when I made the changes, so.
Okay, so page 8 looks the same. So we'll sign it. You can be first. Your official pen.
Passed by roll call vote, which has already been done. Three
Yes.
in favor, 0 against, so put that into.
Yeah, good point.
Okay. Any other questions, Ann?
And that last paragraph is changed
Yeah.
on the ballot.
And you'll,
I know, we'll get a copy.
she'll email you all the final version.
That's good. Ken, you want a copy of that final version too?
I certainly do. Thank you.
we're down to the last discussion.
There's one other question that came up on this, which is the money you voted to give to the Justice Center Committee, for advertising and expenses. And at this point, I think that committee should be restructured, that the elected officials who've been sitting on that, including the sheriff, of course, and the commissioners, that have a stake in this, really need to separate themselves from any further
That was already done.
participation.
That was already done. There's a subcommittee that's doing it.
Okay, so
There's
that
issues.
subcommittee will be solely in control of those funds.
Right, that's the,
Strictly educational information. There will be an issue committee set up of private citizens that will be for the voting yes on it. So, that will not be part of the county at all.
What fund did that money come from?
general, the $10,000 cap we put on it.
General fund, do we need to formally disband the Justice Center Committee? The
I think it might
commissioners,
be a good idea to do it by motion, just to make it clear that,
don't you guys think?
Well, in the last meeting that no one was at, we said this,
You did it.
this was the last meeting of the Justice
Right.
Center
but that was
Committee, and
the
there,
Justice Center.
Right, that wasn't the
Yeah.
commissioners.
well, the commissioners never made a Justice.
Well, but we can't make that,
We did that on our own.
but we wouldn't make the decision in that meeting anyway. It would still have to be in front of the board and the board to vote on it. So,
We authorized the committee, though, to function on our behalf.
right.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm saying maybe we ought to disband that.
I think it'd be good just to have it on
Yeah.
the record.
Well, let's
Then
do
there's no question about, wait a minute, you guys still on it? No, we're not. That committee doesn't exist anymore. That's my
Okay,
point.
I'll make a motion, then, having resolved and completed the work of the Justice Center Committee, to bring a ballot issue to the floor, that we disband the Justice Center Committee starting today.
Is disband or dissolve a
Dissolve,
better word?
maybe
I
a
don't
better
know.
word.
I said disband, but I wasn't sure
Yeah.
that was a good word. Dissolve, probably. I would second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to dissolve the Justice Center Committee. All in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Sorry, guys, you don't have a job except for Ann. What, Ann?
Don't you need to authorize the education committee then?
No.
No, 'cause that's
No,
citizen
you set
committee.
that up already.
They're gonna do whatever they do.
No, there's two separate things. We're doing the education piece with the county money.
Right.
But we give it, but we've
Understood what you're saying.
authorized that expense to a committee of people.
Well, when she's saying that committee should be the education
That was,
committee,
that was
not
Oh.
the
the
citizen.
committee,
Oh,
that's
I
the
see.
committee.
Oh,
Subcommittee is that.
okay.
Yeah, I would move we create, or we authorize an education, Justice Center Education Committee to be formed.
All right.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to form a Justice Center Education Committee. All in favor, say aye. Tom? Whoa, discussion.
Do you need to appoint a chairman of that? Like, would it be Ann?
With
I
Ann
don't know.
as the chairman.
Yeah, I don't
With
know.
Ann as the chairman.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't think it matters. That's up to you guys to form it.
Not a chance, not
Not
a
Ann,
Shannon's
I
out.
meant you guys.
I would say to be at least led initially by Ann Bartlett,
They can,
because they may want a different.
well, they can have their own,
Right.
they can do their own
Yeah.
thing, sure.
To be
Coordinate.
initiated, is that all right, Ann? To be initiated by Ann Bartlett, I would make that friendly amendment.
All right, in the friendly
Good
second
point,
row.
Shannon, thank you.
Okay, all in favor of standing up and authorizing a Justice Center Education Committee led by Ann initially?
Initiated, yeah.
All in favor, say aye. Tom?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye.
And then I have one final question. What company does Peltz, everybody said that, including him, but I didn't get the
He's a
actual.
partner of Kutak Rock, both law firm in Denver.
Kutak Rock,
Rock.
standard spelling on rock?
Yeah.
Is there an Ann Peltz in there?
Rock.
Is it Ann Peltz?
Tom Helps.
Thomas,
Yeah.
Tom Peltz.
Good.
I do have a question. So, do we have to do anything with the issue No,
No.
you're crowding around, okay, I'm just letting you know for
That's a citizen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Next item is we modified the, language on it. It's consideration of would you say appointing?
Consideration of selecting the
Selecting
American
as
Rescue
appointed.
Plan.
Members. All right. Who wants to grab this?
I'll start
Go
us
ahead.
off if you'd like. I would move that we accept the 5 members that, we came up with at our special meeting to be seated today as our American Rescue Plan,
Plus one alternate.
plus 1 alternate.
Okay, read the numbers so that we're on the same
I
sheet.
think we need to read the names into the.
Well, we will,
Yes,
but let's,
when seated, we will read the names into the record.
Well, I think it needs to be part of the motion.
Part of the
we
motion.
could make it part of the motion, otherwise
Okay.
just make it the numbers, we'll approve them and then announce it.
I will do that. I'll withdraw my previous
Start over.
motion. I move that we accept Andrew Zeller,
Trinity.
Trinity Hoffman, Bob Hollingsworth, Alma Golden, and Carol Banger as committee members, and that Marcy Gregg would be an alternate for this committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the, members that were selected. Andrew Zeller, Trinity Huffman, Bob Hollingsworth, Alma Golden, Carol Varner, and Marcy Gregg. Any discussion?
Yeah, for the record, it's Huffman, not Hoffman.
Yeah, Huffman, oh, yeah, I read it. It is Huffman. H-U, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
And I honestly don't know if it's 1 F or 2, I believe it's 2.
It's 2.
And it's, I've asked her before how she pronounces her name, and
Right.
she told me Bahinger, but I don't know, maybe it's Bahinger, but the pronunciation doesn't matter, I believe the spelling's correct, don't you, Kevin?
The spelling is correct,
Okay.
yes.
Discussion. No, we got a guy over here first.
just wanna know what the American Rescue Plan is, what is, in the committee, what do they do?
They're gonna give away $987,000.
Over 4 years.
They're gonna give away that minus the money we've already committed.
Yeah.
They will vet, but we will meet with them and come up with guidelines for them. Basically, they will vet applications that will come to them and bring recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners, to allocate these funds. The American, Rescue Plan,
Oh, okay, I got it,
so,
It's the economic recovery.
okay, that's the way you're going to write it, right?
Right.
Yeah. If I may, sir, we're still in discussion of this,
Of America.
is that correct?
Yeah.
2 of these committee people have asked me what the next step is gonna be. We can handle that after this motion
Right.
if you want,
Let's wait
but
till
I'd
that.
like to discuss that.
Yes, we need to. Did you have another question? Anybody else? Okay, so we've got the committee, they've had it, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the, committee members, Andrew Zeller, Trinity Huffman, Bob Hollingsworth, Alma Golden, Carol Vahinger, and, Marcy Gregg. Say aye. Tom?
Aye.
Kevin?
aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay, we got a committee.
So, 2 of those people have asked me when we thought they should meet.
Well, and what we discussed, I recall, is that we were going to have a, discussion with all of them and make sure they understood the handout they got, right? They all had access to the, link that was sent. And then.
Have you already sent it to them?
Yes, you did.
Okay. we haven't sent
Oh,
it
you
to
didn't
the
send it to
entire
everybody? I thought you sent it to all of them.
That,
All right, so you need to get that to everybody.
I personally would like to see them and us try to meet in August or early September for
Yeah.
the initial meeting. I'm not in a panic, I just think we need to get them involved.
Yeah, and I think, I do too, but I can't do it. The end of this month is really booked. But let's look at the first week or two.
We're gonna be in town, obviously, on the 31st.
We could do it
We can
then.
meet in the afternoon.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Uh,
Kevin, can, the afternoon of the 31st?
We'd have to
I like
ask
that.
them, of course, but
Yeah.
maybe we can come up with 2 or 3 dates.
I was looking at my wife, 'cause that's her birthday, so, but she said, she gave me the high sign, so we're good to
No
go.
way.
We'll finish in time for you to take her out to dinner, and you can stop at the floral shop
Oh,
and the gift shop,
so let's get,
and the car dealership.
Because some people were not.
Make a note, we're gonna sing happy birthday to her.
yeah, we missed it the last
Yeah.
one.
Threw you under the bus, didn't I?
Could we offer up the 31st as a potential?
I would be in
You
agreement.
good with that? That's
Uh,
fine. We don't need to vote on that.
2 o'clock?
Well, I take that back because I have a staff meeting.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
meeting
that
at
meeting,
1.
well, we gotta wait.
Well,
If we
so,
said 2, then we'd be doing you a favor.
That's probably a good
is
idea.
my staff meeting at 1 or 1:30?
1.
I have it at 1:30.
It's even better. 2 is still fine.
Well, if it's at 1:30, then 2 won't work.
That would be a little hard.
We normally have had them at 1. I'll check the calendar.
2:30 or is fine with me.
Okay, I have it at 1:30
Okay.
on both of my
It's
calendars.
your meeting, so.
So,
You could grab a hold of it and make it sooner.
1:30, 2:30, so would you wanna go for 2:30
Sure.
to meet with these people then?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
And then so, for ease of life, let's come up with 2 or 3 dates that Tina can send out to them, and the majority rules, and let's make them all 2:30 then. Does that sound reasonable?
Well, let's see,
Did we start at, this date
yeah,
is at 2:30, that date's at 2, this date's
maybe
at
you ought to
1.
give them, 2 dates. Make a choice. Or you-
And then, of course, we meet again on the 7th and the 8th, so I'd suggest one of those days is the
When's the, let's do it on the 7th, because the Board of Health would be on the 8th.
Pardon?
I thought the Board of Health was on stuff in the first day with you.
Well, or did we move it to the middle of the month? We changed something on that, because it's getting into a routine. I think it was the middle of the month, actually.
Well, back, see, whenever we had it last month, right?
Last month was the end of the second day. It was,
No.
maybe it was the first day.
Well, let's have it on the
We've
7th.
had it on the Tuesday.
Yeah, we have, let's put it on the second one, that's a safe bet, and, or the first, yeah,
Put our September 8th
Instead of the 7th.
yeah,
potential.
yeah. That would be the other one. 7th.
Well, last year we had it on the first of those 2 days, or last month, we had it on the
So let's
first.
put it on the second day, because the Board of Health was on the first one.
That's what, I thought we were trying to decide when the
That's
Board
what
of
I was
Health
gonna
meeting.
ask, is which one we're talking about
I think
here.
the Board of Health meeting should be on the 7th to stay consistent.
That's what
Okay,
that's what I'm saying, so
all right.
this meeting ought to be on the 8th is what I was trying to say.
Okay, so this meeting should be on the 8th.
Yeah, at 2:30, I guess.
ARP meeting. As a second option,
Right.
correct?
Yes, that's the second date.
So both dates then are
August
31st.
31st and September 8th at 2:30.
Right.
Okay.
Are we gonna have a third date?
Nope,
Okay.
let's see what they come up with. If there's too many of them, can't do it. We'll reconsider. They got it.
And then, I'm assuming we are going to instruct Tina to send out a formal notification that they've been appointed and include the link to the packet of information.
That way they can
Yeah.
be up to speed. I know one of,
And I'm gonna need email addresses or phone numbers from,
You already got
I
them from
sent
them.
them.
I got yours,
You got mine too, didn't you?
didn't get no emails from you.
I thought I
you
gave
have
it to you.
Carol's?
No, I do not.
Okay,
I
I'll get
do.
that. I know you have Andrews, 'cause I think
Yes, I have Andrew.
two.
still, but I don't have all of them.
You just have one of mine?
I just have one of yours.
Which
The
one was it?
gentleman you wanted me
Hop.
to send the link to.
Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get you Carol's here real quick. And I think it was Vahinger instead of Vahinger, but I don't.
Vahinger now?
No.
I think it might be
Vahinger, no.
but it's, the H is pretty silent, so.
Vahinger.
Sorry, I had that backwards, yeah, I think it is Vahinger. Maybe I don't have an email from her, sorry.
You have I'm gonna forward you a contact card.
That's good. And if you don't, if you have a phone number, you can send me their phone numbers and I can contact them.
I'll look.
My whole contact for her.
Perfect.
You have it, Kevin? You say you do have her number?
Carol's? Yeah, I just,
Okay, all right.
and email, I sent it all to
Okay,
Tina.
perfect. Perfect. What? No, can't.
I'll be back.
Have to go,
See
let
ya.
it go.
Take care.
Okay, you got it. Anything else, time to move on, and now?
So I guess when we meet, then we will be able to go through some things with them and give them direction.
Right, we'll have a discussion. Move on.
Do we want to try to have some ideas as far as an application form is concerned, or just hash that out?
Remember, we
with them?
asked them to put it together for us,
Okay,
I think we had that discussion with them at that meeting,
just like we did.
that works.
Yeah.
and I'm assuming those meetings will occur in the commissioner room.
That's a good point, they should.
Date, time, and location,
Never assume.
5, 8, 9, yeah, should work in there.
Okay, any other additional items of business? I don't have any. Kevin?
None here, sir.
Tom?
No, not officially, I have a question for you gentlemen, if I may.
Want to do that in this time, or public comment?
It's county business, but
Go ahead.
do you want to meet for dinner tonight in Central City? Or do you just want everybody to do their own thing?
We may be strapped to somebody's mistaken turn off and get
Yeah,
lost.
that's true too.
Or timing.
I don't have a place, I just didn't want anybody to think, well, good God, Flower's off doing his own thing,
Oh, yeah.
which I already checked, there's no golf courses close, so,
Well, that's good, 'cause
yeah.
I can't hit one.
Not a big deal, it's not to me if it's not to you guys, I
Well,
just,
just call it when you get in. Leave.
we could do that.
We could touch base if
Leave
we're all
your,
around at the right time. We got a
leave
few
your
things to
phone.
do before we go
I
up,
do too,
and,
so.
And
I'm probably gonna be up there by
did
5.
Joanne get a hold of you? She can't make it. Got a doctor's deal that came up.
Yeah, you want me to just reach out, I'll look for a place, and then I'll call you and see if you're there, if not, no big deal.
that'll work.
Okay, all right, very good. And I'm taking the tax exempt certificate, but
They
these
don't all-
reservations
yeah.
are all different, so everybody's gonna have their own.
Yeah, you gave us a copy of it, so I'm
I
gonna
just
print
got your
mine.
meeting invite.
I have mine, Grant.
Other than that, I have
Good
nothing
job.
here.
Okay, I don't have anything either, so, any public comment? Anybody online anymore, do we know? I think I'm not dialed in, are you, Kevin?
I am not.
Anybody online like to make a comment, if somebody's online? No. Any questions back here? You guys colluding back there? Okay,
We are.
that's good.
So one thing I wanna know is previously Shannon was approving the ads, educational ads, is we got now these rescues chair online.
Yeah, I'd say the chair, once you get your committee.
Right, get it going.
And I will send them out as a courtesy to you, to make sure that my information that we're putting in the ad is correct, and that you don't see any glaring mistakes.
Good.
On on the education committee.
on the education.
Right. I think that's perfect.
It's a great idea.
I do, just so you know, I do have contracts with all three papers. So we've got, and, we have people working on the flyer.
Good. Yep, and you've got your cash, so
And
move
those
forward.
contracts take into account distribution numbers, right?
Well, the contract often has that. It's not one way or the other.
I move we adjourn.
All seconded, been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Maybe. And aye.
He who hesitates is lost.